At exactly 11:47 on June 27, 2025, an Israeli F-15I pilot flips the master arm switch and feels the weight of 10,000 pounds of ordnance shift beneath his wings. In 7 minutes, he'll turn a Lebanese mountain into a parking lot. But first, he needs to get there without getting shot down himself. The pilot has been strapped in for 23 minutes, running through the same pre-flight checklist he's performed hundreds of times. Fuel quantity, verified. Weapon systems, online. The two GBU-28 bunker busters hanging from his center line and wing pylons aren't subtle. At 5,000 pounds each, they're the biggest conventional bombs in Israel's inventory. When you absolutely need to delete a mountain, except no substitutes. His weapons systems officer, or WISO, sits behind him, checking the APG-70I radar controls. Their target, Beaufort Ridge, where Israeli satellites have watched construction crews spend 6 months violating the November ceasefire agreement. The underground facility they're building isn't exactly hidden. When you see dump trucks arriving empty and leaving full for months, even a child could figure out someone's digging tunnels. At 11:48, the tower clears them for takeoff. The formation leader advances throttles to full power. Pratt & Whitney F-100 PW-229 engines scream to life, generating 58,000 pounds of combined thrust. The heavily loaded F-15I needs every pound. At maximum takeoff weight, it handles like a freight train with wings. The acceleration pins both crew members to their seats. Speed builds slowly at first, 70 knots, 100 knots, 130 knots. At 165 knots, the pilot eases back on the stick. The massive jet reluctantly takes off, climbing at least 500 feet per minute. His wingman follows 15 seconds later, then the second pair at identical intervals. By 11:50, all 4 F-15Is are airborne, turning northwest toward the Mediterranean. The flight plan is deliberately indirect. Instead of flying straight to Lebanon, a mere 40-mile trip, they'll head west over the Mediterranean, climb to 35,000 feet, then hook north before turning east toward the target. This adds 20 minutes to the mission, but keeps them outside Syrian radar coverage and away from Russian naval vessels that might give them up. At 11:52, the formation reaches the Mediterranean coastline near Netanya. The pilots switch to autopilot, letting the flight management system handle the climb while they configure weapon systems. Each GBU-28 needs individual programming, target coordinates, fuse delays, and impact angles. The WISOs input data while monitoring radar warning receivers for any hint they've been detected. The thing about carrying bunker busters is that these aren't smart bombs you can lob from 50 miles away. The GBU-28 needs altitude to build penetration velocity. Physics demands they drop from at least 30,000 feet. That means getting close enough for every radar in Lebanon to paint them like a neon sign. At 11:54, they're passing through 25,000 feet, still climbing. The formation spreads to combat spacing, 500 meters lateral separation, 1,000 meters between lead and trail. In 6 minutes, they'll turn east toward Lebanon. In 12 minutes, they'll make a mountain disappear. But first, they need to blind every radar between here and Damascus. At 11:55, the formation hits 35,000 feet and banks hard right, heading 090 degrees magnetic towards Lebanese airspace. The Mediterranean stretches endlessly below, but the pilots focus on their radar warning receivers as threat symbols begin populating the display. The first hit comes from a Lebanese P-18 spoon rest radar near Tyre, that distinctive low-frequency warble every Israeli pilot knows by heart, operating at 150 megahertz in the VHF band. It's older than most of the pilots flying today. Older radars like this one are supposedly immune to stealth technology and traditional jamming. The key word being supposedly. Lightning flight, music on, the formation leader transmits. All 4 F-15Is activate their Elisra SPS-2110 electronic warfare suites simultaneously. The synchronized activation isn't random. It's a perfectly timed dance at 35,000 feet. The F-15I's Elisra SPS-2110 electronic warfare suite wasn't just jamming. It was actively deceiving enemy radar. The system's digital radio frequency memory, or DRFM, quickly recorded radar signals, altered them, and sent back fake versions. Kind of like when your wife asks you if you've taken out the trash. You say yes, she believes you, and you buy yourself a bit more time before she realizes you're still on the couch. The range deception made the aircraft appear 15 kilometers farther than their actual position. Velocity deception showed them flying backward at Mach 2. Angle deception split each aircraft into 3, all traveling in different directions. Within seconds, the Lebanese radar operator watches one formation become 12. Aircraft appear to teleport across his scope, violating physics with casual indifference. Some climb through 60,000 feet, impossible for a loaded F-15I. Others dive below sea level. A few execute instantaneous 90-degree turns, confirming good effects on the P-18, the wingman reports, monitoring the radar's increasing pulse rate. When operators get confused, they often switch modes rapidly, trying to burn through any jamming. The DRFM adapts instantly, creating false returns tailored to each new mode. At 12:01, they cross the Lebanese airspace at 35,000 feet, heading 090 degrees. The second pair splits north, maintaining a 10-mile separation. This isn't just tactical spacing, it's electronic geometry. By attacking the radar network from multiple angles, they create constructive interference patterns that amplify the jamming effect. A Chinese JY-27A radar suddenly lights them up from Sidon. This one's modern, active electronically scanned array, frequency agility, claimed immunity to jamming. The Israeli pilots aren't impressed. Their intelligence briefings included the radar's specific weaknesses, courtesy of months of studying similar systems. The formation executes a tactical maneuver called the carousel. The lead aircraft banks 30 degrees left while pumping out maximum jamming power. His wingman banks 30 degrees right, creating false returns that mirror the leader's actual position. The trailing pair performs the same maneuver 5 seconds later. But the real black magic was in the timing. The DRFM system didn't just create false targets, it created believable false targets. Each ghost aircraft followed realistic flight paths, maintained consistent speeds, and even mimicked the radar cross-section fluctuations of banking aircraft. The deception was so complete that Lebanese operators began tracking and reporting phantom squadrons that existed only as electrons dancing across their screens. To the JY-27A, it looks like the formation is simultaneously flying in 4 different directions. New player, SA-6 from the Becca. The third pilot reports, the Soviet-era straight-flush fire control radar has locked onto something, probably one of their ghost aircraft. The RWR shows solid lock indication, then switches to blinking as the lock transfers to another false target. It's like your woman scrolling through Netflix, locks onto a movie, then 5 seconds later changes her mind and picks another. Repeat until bedtime and nothing gets done. At 12:03, they reach the initial point, the spot where the attack run begins. The formation converges, abandoning deception for raw speed. 4 F-15Is in echelon formation, a formation staggered diagonally, like steps on a staircase. The jets descending through 30,000 feet at 15 degrees nose down. Airspeed builds rapidly. 450 knots, 500 knots, 550 knots. The Lebanese air defense network goes insane. Every radar within 100 miles illuminates them. The RWR screens look like Christmas trees, with different symbols overlapping as multiple systems compete for locks. But it's too late. In 90 seconds, they'll be over Beaufort Ridge. In 2 minutes, they'll be heading home if everything goes as planned. The pilots ignore the screaming warnings and focus on their target. Time to deliver 20,000 pounds of American steel to its new Lebanese address. At 12:04, the formation thunders over the Litani River at 28,000 feet. 4 F-15Is in perfect formation. Below them, southern Lebanon's hills roll toward Beaufort Ridge. The target area fills their HUDs, an innocuous hillside that hides a very guilty secret. Here is where things get interesting. Lightning lead is fenced in, switching hot. The formation leader announces, the attack phase has begun. Each pilot runs through the same muscle memory. Master arm on. Weapons selected. Release mode confirmed to auto. The weapons systems officers in the back seats have the harder job, maintaining the lantern targeting pods that will guide 20,000 pounds of ordnance to meter-level accuracy. The lantern pod is like a high-tech set of eyes and a laser pointer strapped to the jet, helping it see and mark targets so the bombs know exactly where to go. The lead F-15I banks 20 degrees left, pulling 4 Gs as it aligns with the attack axis. This isn't random. The approach angle ensures both bombs will impact perpendicular to the tunnel system's orientation, maximizing penetration. His wingman maintains position, 1,000 meters back and 500 meters right, ready to adjust if the leader's bombs reveal the underground layout. 60 seconds to release, the lead Wizzo calls. His lantern pod slews to the target, infrared sensors painting a detailed picture despite the noon sun. The lantern's pod laser designator operates on a principle called semi-active laser homing. The 1.064 micron wavelength isn't arbitrary. It sits in the near-infrared spectrum where atmospheric absorption is minimal, allowing the beam to punch through humidity, light rain, and dust that would scatter visible light. The laser pulses at a specific pulse repetition frequency, typically between 10 and 20 Hz, creating a unique signal signature that the bomb seeker head recognizes as its target among potentially dozens of other designators operating in the same battle space. Think of it like your TV remote. Plenty of signals in the air, but your TV only listens to yours. As the bomb descended, the reflected laser energy created what pilots call the basket, a cone of guidance that narrowed as the weapon approached, improving accuracy from 30 meters at release to less than 1 meter at impact. The underground facility's heat signature bleeds through. Ventilation exhausts, generator cooling, the warmth of hundreds of people working below. Someone forgot to properly insulate their secret mountain base. Big mistake. The formation descends through 25,000 feet at a precise 10-degree dive angle. Airspeed stabilizes at 480 knots, fast enough to complicate targeting solutions for surface-to-air missiles, slow enough to maintain weapons release parameters. The pilots fight turbulence as they descend through the jet stream, making constant micro-corrections to hold formation. Juke left, SA-8 launch, bearing 185. The warning comes from the trailing aircraft. Sure enough, a plume of smoke rises from a hillside 15 kilometers south. The OSA mobile SAM system has decided to join the party. In other words, another enemy air defense system is now active and trying to shoot them down. The formation breaks left in unison, pulling 6 Gs as chaff and flares bloom behind them. Confused by the sudden cloud of false targets, the missile selects a chaff bundle and detonates harmlessly. Resume attack heading, the leader orders, his voice strained against G-forces. They reverse the turn, rolling back onto the attack axis. The maneuver cost them 2,000 feet of altitude in 10 seconds, both precious commodities when you're trying to thread through an increasingly angry air defense network. At 12:05, they finally reach the release point, 24,000 feet altitude, 8 kilometers from target, 460 knots airspeed. The lead pilot centers his Piper on the pre-planned impact point where intelligence indicates the main tunnel junction lies. The death dot in his HUD shows exactly where 5,000 pounds of hardened steel will hit in 48 seconds. Leads away. 2 good releases, he announces, feeling the aircraft jump as 10,000 pounds of ordnance departs. The GBU-28s fall in trail, massive bombs beginning their journey from potential to kinetic energy. Each bomb deploys small fins for stability, its laser seekers scanning for the coded energy that will guide it home. Altitude is absolutely critical here. The GBU-28 relies on sheer velocity to penetrate fortified underground targets. More height means more speed at impact, which means deeper penetration and greater damage. Think of it like dropping your AirPods case. The higher it falls, the deeper the headphones disappear under the couch. His wingman pickles 3 seconds later, offset 50 meters north. The second pair, assigned to hit suspected exit tunnels on the ridge's reverse slope, releases 8 seconds later. In the span of 11 seconds, 8 bunker busters begin their descent toward Beaufort Ridge. Lightning fight, egress, 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 the leader commands. All 4 F-15Is roll inverted and pull toward the deck, diving for the relative safety of low altitude. Behind them, their Wizzos keep the lantern lasers locked on target, painting invisible spots on the mountainside that the bombs race toward with single-minded purpose. In 40 seconds, these bombs will do more in a few seconds than what politicians can do in decades. At 12:45:05 and 45 seconds, the first GBU-28 enters its terminal dive at 890 feet per second, just shy of Mach 1. The 5,000-pound penetrator has converted 24,000 feet of altitude into pure kinetic energy. Inside its nose, the laser seeker makes its final corrections, tiny fins twitching to adjust the impact point by mere inches. The bomb doesn't see the mountain. Its simple brain processes only two things: the laser spot painting its target and the rapidly decreasing distance to impact. The deconfliction computer ensures it won't hit exactly where the laser points. That would risk fratriciding the guidance system of following bombs. Instead, it aims 2 meters north, maintaining the pod's lock for its brothers falling behind. Impact minus 5 seconds. The Wizzo watches through the lantern's thermal display as the first bomb becomes visible, a dark streak against the hillside's lighter background. The crosshairs remain rock steady on the tunnel entrance. The GBU-28 hits Beaufort Ridge at 396.2 meters per second. The 5,000-pound weapon carried 630 kilograms of tritonal explosive in a casing of ES-1 Elgin steel alloy. This wasn't ordinary steel, but a specialized blend that maintained structural integrity while punching through obstacles that would shatter conventional weapons. Testing had proven it could penetrate 160 feet of earth or 16 feet of reinforced concrete. The kinetic energy was staggering, 1.5 billion joules concentrated into a cross-section smaller than a dinner plate. The bomb didn't explode on impact. That would waste its potential. Instead, a sophisticated delay fuse counted down as the penetrator bored through rock and concrete, waiting for the precise moment of maximum effect. The nose cone, forged from ES-1 Elgin steel alloy, meets limestone bedrock in a contest that lasts microseconds. The rock loses catastrophically. The penetrator doesn't punch through so much as vaporize everything in its path. Limestone turns to powder, then plasma. The bomb bores through 15 meters of solid rock in the first second, barely slowing. It encounters the tunnel system's concrete ceiling, 2 meters of steel-reinforced protection rated for 2,000-pound bombs. Against 5,000 pounds at near supersonic speed, it might as well be cardboard. The smart fuse counts rotations as the bomb spins through the earth and concrete. At precisely 27 meters depth, deep in the tunnel's complex main junction, it triggers. 286 kilograms of tritonal explosive detonate in a confined space designed to channel blast effects horizontally through the tunnel network. The second bomb impacts 2.3 seconds later, 50 meters north. Its penetration path intersects a parallel tunnel system. The third and fourth bombs dropped by the trailing F-15Is target the reverse slope exits. Each penetrator follows its own path into the mountain's heart, guided by Wizzos who maintain laser lock until impact despite pulling 6 Gs in their egress turns. At 12:06 and 3 seconds, the mountain blows up. 4 synchronized detonations create a phenomenon called constructive interference. Shock waves from each blast meet and amplify, turning solid rock into gravel. The tunnel system channels these forces like gun barrels, creating overpressure that liquefies concrete and turns steel support beams into modern art. But the real destruction comes 8 seconds later. Israeli intelligence suspected weapons storage, but they underestimated the scale. The primary blasts trigger a chain reaction through ammunition bunkers, fuel stores, and what happens to be a complete rocket assembly facility. Secondary explosions rippled through the collapsed tunnels, each finding new weapons caches. The F-15I crews, now climbing through 15,000 feet on their egress route, see the mountain erupt behind them. A pillar of smoke and debris rises 3,000 feet into the afternoon sky. The entire north face of Beaufort Ridge slides away like a curtain, revealing the honeycomb of tunnels now open to daylight. Good effects on target, the lead Wizzo reports with professional understatement. His lantern pod still recording. captures footage of continued explosions as munitions cook off in the ruins. The underground fortress, 6 months of construction, millions of dollars of investment, hundreds of tons of weapons, has become Lebanon's newest quarry. Bye for now.